Hi everyone. It looks like I'm in the dark here because I don't have a forward-facing lamp. Pardon the pun there. Today we're looking at the global check set. It's going to be a fairly quick video, but basically, when we do a global check set, it's a check-in. Sometimes I'll do it at the beginning. Sometimes if people know their goals right off, I won't do this with you. There are a couple things that we'll need to just get information from you on, but basically, Global Check Set was developed by Eric Gentry and his writing partner Anna Baranowski. Um, they've been writing together for decades. Uh, so basically, the instructions are on this. So each person in the couplehood will do this together, not necessarily on the same sheet, usually two separate sheets, and read through the statement, responding to each item in a manner that best describes your experience over the past 2 weeks. So this is generally over the past 2 weeks. You will notice there are some questions that will be more historical, not just 2 weeks. So just responding accordingly means that usually you'll have a 0 to 4. And I'll note sometimes it's a 4 to 0 because if, for example, on question 6 here, my body is usually pain free. Well, if it's never pain free, that's going to be a 4 instead of a 0 on this side. Also, if I have a positive and cheerful attitude toward life. If I never have a positive and cheerful attitude toward life, that's going to be a 0. That's higher in symptomology. The higher the symptoms are, the higher naturally your distress is going to be in life. The higher the distress, it makes sense that relationships are difficult when you're highly distressed. You don't have a lot of tolerance for social. You don't have a lot of tolerance for other people in your space. It's difficult to problem solve when you're in high distress. And this is going to calculate distress and also give us little segments for planning for each person. You might be doing individual counseling, and maybe you didn't do a global check set sort of drill. If you, I shouldn't say drill, it's an assessment. But it's helpful for goal planning, and you might get something out of this that you might not have thought of, and you can bring it to your sessions and say, hey, I never thought of this, but let's focus on my worry or feeling anxious or, my body pain because of tension from stress. So a lot of different things that can come out of this. A is for alcohol, drugs, substance use. And D stands for depressive symptoms. S for suicidality. And some of them may be, more feelings of hopeless and worthlessness. There are a couple that we'll talk about, like thoughts of suicide, and another talks about a direct plan. This is all for case planning. It's not to, not freaking out here if you say you have, suicidal thoughts. If you have a plan to suicide, that isn't something that is going to be a make or break for this, but it's going to be a part of our case plan together every time we get together. How is that going for you right now? Let's do a check-in. And we'll set up if it's frequently or almost always you're having a plan, or even rarely or sometimes within the last 2 weeks, we're going to negotiate together a safety plan. Can you keep yourself safe? Is a hospital visit necessary? Those are things within your control, and you would be able to, check in with me weekly to make sure that you're safe and you're making it. But here's the cool thing. The cool thing is you came to session. That indicates a certain level of hope already, right? It's not completely hopeless. You're trying. You're coming here. So that's something that on this, that means that things can get better, or at least you have some dim hope somewhere in the background. Things can get better, and that's why you're here. That's why you've made it. So congratulations for coming. So that's with suicidality. That's my promotion of let's talk about it. Okay. For P, it's PTSD symptoms. So those are symptoms that you'll find in the DSM-5 for PTSD. Doesn't mean you have it. I'm not diagnosing it. It just means those are symptoms we can look for, and that can be part of our planning together. Anxiety is X. I is somatization, which means how is my body responding to stress? Like pains, could be you know, diagnosed illnesses that may be unexplainable historically or genetically, but they're happening due to possibly stress. Some autoimmune diseases are stress-borne diseases because of constant body tension and difficulty with the fight or flight consistently and repeatedly, keeping us in a state of dysregulation, so we don't have that rest and repair that we need in our bodies and so then we have a lot of aches and pains, a lot of body symptoms as well. That's part of what the ACE talk was about as well, right? Stress, how triggers are formed in us in our youth, and how sometimes we stay hypervigilant and our bodies aren't able to rest and recover. C is dissociation. So that's the way our bodies respond. Our brain body system responds in such a way that it may close off our conscious awareness of something that happened in our past. And so dissociation isn't, if that's part of the case plan for us, it's not going to be something where we will treat this individually, of course, because it's a relationship recovery, but it can affect our relationships because we might be dissociative and leave in our minds, and our partner is left wondering. So it's important to know and understand dissociation with your partner if it is happening, because it can be misunderstood and one person may feel absolutely neglected. But if we can build an understanding together and continue to build a plan to work on that with each other, support each other in these kinds of things, and that could include also individual counseling for trauma, individual counseling also because certain neurodivergencies, if that's a word, include dissociation or dissociative tendencies. For example, with ADHD, I've dissociated from my body throughout my childhood in a lot of ways, or I might dissociate from a conversation and my mind gets sidetracked. And that's important for my partner to know. I'm not doing that intentionally. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm not trying to disrespect you and what you're saying, but it is helpful when you say that really hurts when this happens, because I don't want to hurt you, and I'm going to continue to build an effort and try to build the skills that I need to stay on track. And when we're talking, or I'll let you know, man, I'm really sorry today, and right now is not a good time for me to just like really have a focused, longer conversation, because my mind's just going to squirrel off and we'll probably end up having some disagreements. Anyway, so that's dissociation. So fill these out to the best of your ability. Watch out for the reversals. So my body is usually pain-free, never usually pain-free. Well, that's going to be a 4. The other, it'll scale down to a 0. So these are all questions. I'll go through them real quick with you. Some of them are more difficult. So I've been exposed directly or indirectly to a traumatic event. This is something that's going to fill us with, scary memories. I might avoid people, places, things that remind me of this event. That's how you'll know that you may have been exposed. So 0 would be historical. So that would be a 0 would mean I've never been exposed, to my knowledge. 4 would be, yeah, I've been consistently exposed throughout my childhood, throughout my life, to traumatic events. And then most of them are straightforward after that. You might have some difficulty, and we'll be able to talk about these when you come back. So it's pretty much 1 to 35. If you want to score it, you can. So you score up all the D's here for depression, characteristics or symptomology. A would be substance use. You add the S for suicidality, add the P for PTSD symptoms, anxiety symptoms, symptoms of somatization, or how stress is affecting your body, symptoms of dissociation, the way that my system is like, saving me from having these very distressing images interrupt my life or disrupt my ability to survive in society. Those are those ones there. And so I have a scoring sheet about pretty much if I have something 9+ in D or A or P, X, L, or C. Those are things we might want to put on our case plan to really concentrate on in the relational connection. And it's good for you guys to be able to discuss as a couple how these are affecting you. It may be eye-opening. Some of your fights may have been, because of trauma history, and you may not have even thought of it that way. It's really helpful. Suicidality is a 3+. If you have a 3 or more in suicidality, let's make that part of our check-in plan as a couple, or a part of your planning as well for checking in on each other. How are you doing with that? Are you continuing to have a plan? Email me some updates. We'll email back and forth. Email is my primary mode of communication with the counseling center here. We'll make plans to make sure that you're safe. So that's the global check set. It's 35 questions. You add them up down here, or just track them and we can add them together. The total score, if it's a 70+, that means, you can have distress below a 70. It may, your baseline may be different than others, but generally a 70+ means that you're feeling psychologically distressed most of the time throughout your life. You may be, experiencing a lot of irritation, a lot of uncomfort in your body, and having difficulty because of these symptoms that you have. And then you can take that to your independent providers for your own stuff. And then this is just a quick self-evaluation, 1 to 10 afterward. Forward-facing freedom. Am I ready? Is my life stressful? So I'm often overwhelmed. Do I behave in ways I regret later? Yes or no? Frequently say or do things that hurt people I care about. If most or some of these that are distressing to you are yes, you are a great candidate for forward-facing relationship recovery and resilience. And if you just want to do it because, that's fantastic too. This is just a kind of a quick understanding as we move forward. So here's the bottom realization. So forward-facing freedom is regulation, it's intentionality, and identifying triggers. Realizing that traumatic stress and attachment wounding is an internal experience held from our developmental years, we are empowered to enact healing and eventually no longer react to the pain of our past. This is what forward-facing is all about. It's in the moment as we encounter our triggers, relational triggers especially. This is the biggest part, relational. People in our bubble, people that we really care about, people that we don't want to lose, they trigger us the most. And so as we encounter triggers with our partners, with our children, these kinds of things, and if we can do it in a calm body and reflect on those triggers, they actually enact healing. And little small pieces of healing in the process of living is a powerful way to resolve past traumas, as well as become more intentional in our relationships, in the parts of our lives that really, really matter to us, beyond work, beyond a sense of purpose in the universe. That's important, but man, our close relationships really can often make or break our future visions. So let's strengthen our relationships. Let's get in front of these diagnosed or undiagnosed symptoms that we have and be able to face them head on, to see them in a calm body, to begin to see these things. If you do a global check set later, if you're interested, a month, 2 months later, have any of these decreased because you are processing things, because you are daily becoming more intentional, because you're able to make these changes now that you have a widened space between the stimulus that you experience and the response that you intentionally can do now, because you are able to go, okay, who do I want to be right now in this moment? And if you're able to make that decision consciously, it's going to make a big difference. If you can't, you review it, try again next time. There's no fail. There's only failing forward. All right. Thanks for listening to this video.